Hi, everybody. Welcome to Plottr 101. Oops, there's my alarm telling me it's time for class. Okay, we're going to get started in just a few seconds. Give people time to sign on. And while we're waiting, maybe you could tell me where you're from. I am right now talking to you from Barcelona, Spain. That's where I live now. All right, we will get started in just a second. Some people are still signing on, I see. Okay, well, here's the thing. At the end of this class, you're going to get a link from YouTube Live. And at that point, you can slow it down and you can take notes and you can play it back because I'm about to tell you a lot of things, a lot of information, all crammed into one single hour. What my advice to you is don't take notes. Just sit back and try to take in Plottr from a more intuitive kind of viewpoint. I think you're going to find Plottr is very intuitive and very visual, and you will get the hang of it a lot faster if you kind of just relax a bit and learn from osmosis. You can take notes to your heart's content with that link later on. And later on, you might also want to go into Plottr and download one of the demos to your Plottr because those demos are already fully formed. And then you can play around with all the cool things I'm going to teach you to your heart's content. All right, well, let's get started. So I am LB Schulman, and I'm a lead educator at Plottr, and I'm about to teach you a lot of cool things. So let's get started. All right. So this here is the dashboard. Now, if you've played around with Plottr, you know that this pops up right away when you open up Plottr. And it houses all the projects you've ever worked on in one place. And you simply double click on them and you can go in. And of course, you see Create Blank Project at the top, right? That's pretty much what it sounds like. That's where you're going to start a brand new project. It's going to ask you, what do you want to name it? And then you're going to be sent over to the timeline, ready to go. Those other things, I'll explain that a little bit later, but open existing file, import file, really all you need to know is that that's if you already have an existing Plottr piece that you want to bring back into Plottr for some reason, or maybe you're collaborating with someone and you want to upload a project they're working on. So we're going to work on a book together, but I've already created it. It's the second one down, called The Wicked Wild West. That's right. We're going to work on a cowboy novel today. So normally what you would do is you would simply double click and you would go right in. Let's take a look at this. Okay, give me 1 second to share my screen. Okay, so a brand new project really doesn't look like much. I'm freezing a lot here, I see. I don't know why. Maybe some to do with the internet and the storm. Well, here we have a timeline and it's really basic. And the reason it's so basic is because it's on default mode. If you look above the word chapter 1, you'll see default, right? And this is fine. If this is all you want to do is have chapters at the top and then your scene cards going, say, along this line called main plot line. This is where your scene cards will go. And you want to add more chapters and that's it, that's fine. You can do that. So let's add some chapters. Let me show you this. You can click on the blue plus and add chapters that way. See? Another way you could do it, because Plottr always gives you more than one way, is just click on the black plus. See? More chapters appear. This is fine if this is all you want to do, but you know, we're here to learn some things. So I'm going to teach you a few things. Hi, Les from Michigan. How you doing? Okay, so let's see if we go to see, if you go above chapter 5 and to the right, you'll see this button, this structure button. Let's go look at it. So I like to think of structure as the brains of the project. Anything you change in structure will change on the entire timeline. That's the page we're on right now. Right now, it's telling me we're in default mode. And as you can see, it's exactly what we just found out, which is that there's only one level and it's called chapters, right? Here's where you can also change the whole look of your timeline and make it your own. Text color, border color, etc. We're going to add a 3-act structure. So let's go up here next to 1 and click on the plus. Okay, now we have two levels, chapters and scenes. Let's do one more level. Chapters, scenes, and acts. And you notice that plus went away? That's because we can only do a maximum of 3 levels. If we want to get rid of a level, we have to use this subtraction button because it's the brains and you have to tell the brains to do the work. So here's how it looks. We're still in default mode, which means that this is going to be a horizontal structure. Not my favorite. I'm going to show you something cooler in a second, but you might like it. So here is the thing. This is telling me that we are in Act 1 and we have 1 chapter. And here are some scenes that we're going to be writing. So in Act 1, Chapter 1, we're going to put our first scene here, our second scene here, our third scene here, and so on. If we want to add more, we can hover over Chapter 1 and click plus a few times. And let me scroll over so you can see. And see, there they are. If we wanted to do additional scenes, we can simply hold it over Chapter 2 and drop it, and it'll go right there. But you know what I don't like about this is that by the time you're done with your 60 or so scenes or how many scenes you have, you can imagine Chapter 1 is all the way over to here. You're going to be scrolling for days to see what you have. So that's why it's not my favorite. If you go to this default button and you go down, you'll see tabbed. Tabbed is for a very specific kind of thing. Let's say you've uploaded a really long project that's completely done. That's what tab is really good for, because you can go see how it says Act 1 up here. If we add additional acts by clicking on the plus, it just is still in that horizontal mode, but it allows you to go between these acts super fast so that you don't have to scroll across. What I really prefer is stacked. I prefer stacked because now it makes a little more sense to me. So Act 1, and in Act 1, it looks like we have Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and Chapter 3. And then a third level, Scene 1, Scene 2, Scene 3, Scene 4. And this is where you would put the scenes, right? Okay, but we're still going to make it a little better. So here we have Act 2, Act 3. Again, it's just like the horizontal structure, and then you can hold down Chapter 3, merely drag it up till Act 2 goes, see how Act 2 kind of blinks at you? And drop it, and it goes down to Act 2. And you can do the same thing with scenes. You can pull it up here, drop it, and it'll go right here. Okay, and if we wanted to add additional chapters, again, we hover over it. We just simply click on the black, and there's an additional chapter. How do we change these names? Well, in the brain, right? So let's go into structure. Let's click on, let's say, scene, and let's change it to beat. Let's say we're going to do beats. Okay, because we changed it in the brain, it changes it on the whole timeline. And so now they all say beats. That still doesn't mean a lot to me. So what I'm going to do is show you what this third act really is good for. It's good if you have a template already in mind that you want to use. Then what you can do is hover over the individual beats, because if you change it in the brain, it'll change it all the way across. If you call beat setup, it'll change it all the way across. So if we hover over the individual beat, we can go up and individually change the name to setup. And number 2, maybe we want to do catalyst. Okay. And number 3, I don't know, theme. Number 4, plot point 1. You get the hang of it, right? Okay, so now when we put our scene cards here, this tells me we're in Act 1, Chapter 1, and the setup beat. And same with catalyst. Now, I know some of you are going to write more than one scene for the beats. The more you learn about the beats, the more you know that some beats have multiple scenes and some have less. For example, the catalyst tends to be one single scene and one single event. Setup usually has more than one scene. So you're going to click on the plus. Let's call this scene Joe. Let's see, Joe's horse dies, because it's a bad setup, right? So we want to make it something terrible for Joe. Can I do this? Oh, because I have to do it in here because I just did something funny. Joe's horse dies. Okay, there we go. Now we have a proper setup beat. If we want to add an additional scene, We hover over Joe's horse dies. Sorry, Joe's horse. And there's a little plus that comes up beneath it. Are you with me? If we put on that, click on that, we can say Evelyn divorces, I don't know, what should his name be? Chuck. Evelyn divorces Chuck. Okay, we can keep adding scenes indefinitely here. So that's how you get more than one scene in setup. This whole thing that I just did up here, I did it slow because I wanted to show you how to do it, but it literally takes 20 seconds to do. And it's cool. Now, you don't need this third level, you might notice, if you have another template you're using. So let me show you how that works. Let's go down. Let's scroll down. I need to show you more of the screen here. All right. If you go below main plot, you'll notice first off that all these icons pop up. And these can help you make it look like your own project. So maybe you want to edit the title and call it Scenes or Scene Cards. Maybe you do. Maybe you want to change the color. This blue is rather boring. I don't know about you, but I like hot pink. So there you go. And you can do some other things with it, which I'm about to show you in a minute. But if you go below, you see that blue plus at the below Scene Cards? All right. So here's the thing. If you hover over it, you'll see on one side it says Use Template. So let's take a look at that. There's these things here I want you to focus on, starter templates. All of these are templates that Plottr has already created for you to help you figure out your beats. So you might want to look through it and say, well, what kind of project am I writing? Well, maybe I'm writing a mystery. So I might use Cozy Mystery Beat. Or maybe I'm writing Hero's Journey because I'm going to write the next Indiana Jones story. Or Horror Beat Sheet. I'm writing a horror story. So you really want to play around with these because there's some great templates. In our case, we're writing a cowboy novel, right? So let's see about action adventure plot. If I click on it, here it pops up some information so I can say, is this right? And I see that there is a hero and a damsel in distress and a henchman and a villain. Okay, this looks pretty good. This looks like a good cowboy novel one, so I'm going to choose it. No downside to choosing it. You can delete it at any point. Let's say I read this and I don't even know what this is about. I could go up and click on this eye here, and it'll take me out of Plottr to some information about this template. But I think I'm going to use it. So I'm going to click on this orange choose button. I'm going to click beat because it wants to go under the beat level. All right, here we go. Good. This is our template. So what we're going to do is go inside the template. So let's hover over it. And if you hover over any card in this, it automatically shows you what's in it. So you don't even have to click in, but we're going to click in. All right, so it's got some information here to help us figure out our setup beat for our cowboy novel. Now it's called Hero's Circumstance, but really any first card in a template is going to be more or less the setup beat. So you're going to do the usual things, except this is geared more towards action adventure. In this situation, is the hero happy or unhappy? What about their adventure? What do they want to do? What are their hopes, their problems, etc.? If you scroll down a little bit further, you'll see the hero's circumstance comprises approximately 8 to 10% of the story. What does that mean? Well, that's more for you when you're done writing the story, for you to kind of judge whether your beats are on target. So let's say that you wrote a 100-page novel. Then you know that by page 10, you should be wrapping up the hero's circumstance. This is not meant to be formulaic. It's a guideline. The guideline is saying if you're on page 25 and you're still setting up your story and you have not yet had anything happen in your story, that's a red flag. Your pacing is off. You're being too slow. You need to speed it up. You need to cut some scenes and do that. At the very top, you'll see add your details above this line. Some people think that this is where they're supposed to put their scene cards. No. What this refers to is if you're one of these people like me who read a lot of plotting books, and let's say you read a book called How to Write the Best Cowboy Novel in the World, and you see something in there. It says, Well, if you name your heroine LB Schulman, it's going to be a huge success. And you want to add that to your template. That's pretty cool information. Well, this is completely editable. So simply go heroines named LB. Okay. All right. Now you can close it and you can move on. And it'll say that from now on. Here's the thing. Imagine that you have gone through all of these. Over time, you've done this and you've made it exactly the way you like it. And you really dig this template. Well, if you don't do something special and save your customized template, the next time you go into the dashboard and start a new project, you'll be like, oh, I remember that really cool template. And you'll pull it up and your notes won't be there. It'll revert it back to the template, the original. That's because you didn't save it. So I want you to save it if you are actually going to go to that much work to make it cool. I want you to save it because once you save it, it's forevermore available to you. So how do you save it? Well, this is where I'm going to show it to you, even though it's a bit of an advanced thing. So we're going to put that to the side for one moment, and I'm going to show you something else. Next to timeline, you see the word project? Let's go in there. This is yet another way you can enter your project, but it only has your current project on here. This is where you're going to put your series placeholders. Now, I know some of you are thinking, series, I'm just going to write a single book. Okay, that's cool, but pay attention because this is really, really a powerful tool, and at sometime you're going to want to use it. So what this is to set up a series. It doesn't matter if you know zero about the future books. You want to set them up because by setting them up, it will allow you that anything you create in the Wicked Wild West that you would share in the other books, such as characters. That's very common, right? Katniss is in all the Hunger Games books. So we might want to take Katniss's character card that we created and share it with the future books. That way, when we go into the future book, even if it's 2 years from now, it's already populated with characters and research cards and place cards and all these things that we're going to learn to create today. So how do we do this? Well, to set it up, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I bet she's going to click on that blue plus. Now, normally, if you guys were just in default mode with the chapters at the top, that would be fine. But we changed the coding in the Wild West, and we made that 3-act structure at the top. So if we use this blue, it's going to create a brand new book in our series, but it's not going to carry over that 3-act structure. Why does that matter? Well, I'll show you. I clicked on the blue plus. I'm writing main plot because it's the name of my book. All right, if I open it up, there's the default mode. You see? If I open this one up, well, there's my cool 3-act structure at the very top. So what does that mean? Well, that means when I go to share something with this book, a little thing's going to pop up and it's going to say, you didn't have the same structure. Please go in and fix it. And then you have to go into main plot and you're going to have to add the 3-act structure. There's an easier way. It's called duplicate. That way you duplicate this whole project, including its coding. So if you hover over it, isn't it cute how it moves around? So if you hover over it, you can simply go up here, where you change the name and add pictures and make this look like a cool book. Well, you can click on duplicate. So if you duplicate, there we did that. Let's call book 2 or book 3 rather. Let's save it. Okay, now if I have any cards that I want to carry over, and don't worry, you will get this because it's coming a little bit later. When you go to share it, it's going to allow you to share with this book. But this book, it's going to say, you need to add the 3-act structure. So that's why I just suggest you just duplicate. Okay? All right, let me show you something in this book, main plot. All right, so I showed you over here, use template, right? Well, I also want to show you the plus sign. What is the plus sign? This adds plot lines to your timeline. We're in the timeline page. This is where the magic happens, right? But we could add these things called plot lines, where additional lines like this. Actually, let's go into the Wicked Wild West here. Let's go down here. Let's add an additional plot line. our template technically is a plot line. Okay, we're going to go and we're going to do plus. What are we going to name our plot? Well, we have a lot of choices, but you can research to find out what people do. But one of the things I always do is I use it for multiple point of view characters. So since Joe from Michigan is kind enough to speak up with me on chat, I'm going to add him to the book. So Joe, you're now a character. Okay. And Heidi is a character. All right. These are multiple point of views. So now I can do the same thing with scene cards, except I don't really need to do scene cards because my scene cards are up here, right? So what can I use these scene cards for? Character arc cards. All right, so the setup, nothing happens to Joe. He's the same old guy he always was. But maybe over here in plot point 1, Joe's neighbor dies. Everybody dies in this story. Joe's neighbor, Joe's horse. It's a sad, sad day for Joe. Okay. All right, Joe's neighbor dies. And he learns empathy, a bit of empathy. All right, this is his character arc. Maybe in beat 6, something else happens to Joe and he learns how to share his life with somebody and so on. And in this way, you can actually track really easily how Joe is developing as a character and making sure his arc is nice and smooth, that you didn't forget anything. You didn't make him go from generous to greedy or greedy from generous to abruptly. You're just slowly moving him along. And the same goes with Heidi. Her character arc might be different and you can track it. Another thing you might do with one of these cool plot lines is calendaring. Calendaring is really a great idea. So what you do is you go, Joe's horse dies. Okay, when did Joe's horse die? I'm going to use a scene card and I'm going to say Thursday, August 3rd, 3:33 p.m. All right. That scene takes place there. Why is it important to date and time your scene cards? I would have never done this before, but when I sold my first book, what happened was my editor said, could I calendar it out? And I went through every single scene. It was so tedious. And I had to put down every single day and time. And I realized that, like almost all writers, as it turns out, we really just kind of throw in timestamps when we're writing our first draft. So we often have things like 2 weeks later, blah, 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 or last week, blah, 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 blah. But we're not paying any attention to the actual date, right? Sound familiar? Well, when I actually had to go through and do this, it took forever to do. And when I actually did it, I found out I was sending kids to school on a Sunday. I had a few mistakes like that, and I had to go back and fix them. And let me tell you, going back and fixing those things is so much work because you can't just fix that one scene. Then you have to go back and fix all the timestamps that come before it. It took days to do this. Now, this takes 1 second to add the day time of the scene. And in this way, I don't make those mistakes because I can clearly see, oh, it's Sunday. They can't go to school today. Another thing you might do with one of these is you might do clues if you're writing a mystery. So in this situation in Catalyst clue, well, he sees the gun on the table. And maybe plot beat 2 is, let's see what could happen there. He notices that Heidi speaks French. It's a clue. All right. So again, in this way, you can clearly see, are your clues coming out in a nice, even way? Or are you doing 20 clues all at once in chapter 2, 3, and 4, and then none for 6 through 9? So it gives you a lot of cool information. You can also see, oh, I forgot the clue. I need this clue. I'm going to add it in. So these little things, their purpose is to save you so much time on revision. And your first draft, because of Plottr, will come out so much smoother. You will find it's much easier to do your revisions. You can do any plotline you want. It's completely up to you. Those are just some of the ones that I've seen done that I think are pretty cool. Okay, so let's say that we go and let's see here. Let's say, as an example, I want to show you an example of sharing. Let's say that, remember, picture this, that this is like 65 scene cards here. Just imagine that, okay? And I decide, you know what, I want to share, I want to share this scene card for this book, The Wicked Wild West, with another one of my books, because I feel like my other book, I just want to see so I have an easy reference. Well, this is an example of something you could share. So you hover over scene cards, you go down here to duplicate. There's the duplicate icon again. Now we have two of them, see? And we're going to move the second one because we don't need two of them. And when we try to move it, it allows me to move it to book 3, but not main plot. And look what happens when I hover over main plot. You can only move plot lines to books with the same number of structure levels. That's because you got it. Book 3 we created using the duplicate button in the project command. So we could share with this, but we can't share with this until we fix that problem. So I'm going to share with book 3. Click on it. You see it automatically disappeared, the second one. Now let's go back to project. Let's go to book 3. And there it is. Now we could add an additional plot line very easily. We could do that. We go down here, add an additional plot line, call it my scene cards. And then I could even drag it because everything's draggable here. And I'm going to drag it up a little higher. Wait, let me go in here and change this to something else. I'm going to call this, because I just carried it over. I forget what we called it. Book 3. Okay. So now we have, and we could change this one. We could change it to book 1. So in that way, I'm not going to do all this because it's tedious, but basically what you can do is you can have, it's just one thing you can share. You can share that whole plot line with other books. Same thing goes with this one, characters, up here at the top when you create character cards. So I'll show you that in a second. Right now, though, what I want to do is forget about our novel for 1 second. I want to show you one of our demos because it's already all done. So it's so much easier for me to show you things on. So let's go here and let's go into our favorite demo, which is my favorite, Three Little Pigs. There we go. Is it showing up? Yeah, there it is. Sorry, I'm freezing. I hope I'm not freezing too badly for you guys. Not sure what's going on right now. Something's going on with the internet. Oh, right. So here we have the Three Little Pigs, and there's a whole bunch of scene cards here. I want to show you how you can hold down any card and move it anywhere. So if I decide the Three Little Pigs is actually the catalyst, I can hold it over here and drop it on catalyst. See? I can move anything around. The days of spreading cards, topic cards all over your living room floor, they're done. This is so much more organized. I can drag this over here. Now I have 2. I can go drag it up there. You see? Pretty cool. All right. Let's go into the first card. Now we're inside a card. You see here that there's not a lot of description here. That's because our author is more of a pantser than a plotter. He likes to discover his scenes as he goes along. He only wants the general beats so he can stay on track, and it keeps his writing moving along, and he's figured it out in a way that makes sense. So for me, though, I mean, like literally I have like a page and a half for every single scene. Over here on the left side, you see how it says books, Three Little Pigs? Well, if I decided that this was actually a card I wanted for a different book, not Three Little Pigs, I changed my mind. I can click on this, and I could click on Return a Mother Pig, and this would vanish from the timeline of my current book, and it would show up in the second book. So that's how you can do that. Plot line, I can say, oh, you know what? This is actually a character arc card. I did it in the wrong area. I can click on wolf, and it'll show up on the wolf's line. Characters, okay, these are all characters that were created in the character tab at the top. If you click on the plus, it allows you to say, of the characters you created, this first scene, who's in it? Well, Pig 1, Pig 2, Pig 3, and Mother Pig are in the scene. Place, it takes place in Mother's house. I'm going to show you tags later on. Really cool. I'm not going to show you everything here today because some things you can learn on your own. The other thing I wanted to show you is these things up here. So right now you see how description is like gray? That's because this description is right in front of you and that's the default. What are attributes? Let's click on it. Well, attributes are things that you want to ask yourself for every single scene card. So in this case, the author really wanted to know about weather, point of view, and time of day. If you want to create your own, you simply go over here to configure on the right side. Maybe you do reader's emotion. This is one of my favorite ones. What is reader's emotion? Well, let me show you. Now you see it's there. So every single scene card, I like to ask myself, like, okay, what am I trying to make the reader feel in the scene? And I just have discovered that for myself, that's something that's really powerful because when I write my first draft, if I know I want my reader to feel sorry for somebody, I can put, feel sorry. I want them to feel sorry for the protag. It really focuses my writing. If I want them to feel angry at somebody, it really focuses my writing. So that helps me a lot. Now, if I decide I don't want that, I can simply go over here to the right. I can change the title of it, see? Or I can delete it. And I think I'll delete it. Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure. Thank you. And you see it's gone. Let's go back to description. It doesn't bother you, but if you go up to attributes and you want to see it, there it is. Let's go back to description again because I'm going to show you add template. So we just showed you add template and how that worked on the timeline. Those templates are to help you come up with your beats, right? Well, the add template here is to help you understand your scene cards better. So it's a different purpose. Templates show up at 3 different places. They show up on the timeline, and they show up on the scene cards, and they show up on the character cards. Those templates are designed to help you get to know your characters better. So let's see what it looks like. Well, you can't really see a lot because there's not as many templates for scenes because it just doesn't need to be. But you can play around with these goals, motivation, conflict, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you don't know what it is, click on that I and it'll tell you all about it. So you can use a template there if you decide you want to, and if you want to know your scene a little better. Maybe it's a very important scene in this story, yeah? Here you can play with all the ways it looks, make it look your own with your own fonts, really easy to do. Even pictures, links, everything that you could want to do, you can do here. Okay, let's close this out. Before I told you that I was going to show you how to customize a template, right? Okay, so when you have your template totally the way you want it, what you're going to do is you're going to go back to project, and you'll have to play with this on your own. You go back to project and you have all your series placeholders here set up, right? Okay, I just want to make sure you remember that. Okay, go back to timeline. We're going to, let's say that I want to carry over something else. Let's see, where's the, oh, there it is, action adventure plot. I see there's 2 here. Okay, so in this situation, pretend that you have changed up the action adventure template to be just the way you like it. So it's got all your own writing in it. Then you're going to go here and you're going to duplicate. And it's going to come up here at the bottom. See how there's a second one? Now we're going to move it. If we just hover over it, all these icons pop up. We'll go all the way over to the right, and there's a little black book. If you hover over it, it says Move Plotline. Let's click it. All right. See, here's the 2 choices. I'm going to choose Return a Mother Pig. The second one went away. Let's go see a project. Let's go to Return a Mother Pig. And there it is. Okay. So that's how you can duplicate your template over that way. But remember that I was trying to show you not just how to share it. I wanted to show you how to share it, but how to save it forever. Okay. So what you would do is go into project. Like I said, this is a bit advanced, so don't worry if you don't get it. I'm sure you can play back the link and get it. And you see how I have one created here? I created a new one, a brand new one using this plus, and I named it template. If I go into template, I deleted everything that's on there. There wasn't much because the template's very basic in the beginning, right? I deleted it. So I have a blank page, right? Now, if I go back to project, I go back to timeline. I'm in the wrong one. Okay, there we go. All right, I go back to timeline. And here it is, action adventure plot, exactly the way I want it. I can move it and I can choose where it's going to go, and I'm going to move it to template. So I move it to template. Then when I open up template, it's going to be sitting there waiting for me because I duplicated and moved it. Are you with me? This is only going to have it there. I didn't actually do it, but you can see I can move it. Pretend it's there. This is the one exactly as you want it. It's its own special format, and all you have to do is go up here and click on these three little dots on the far right side and save it and call it my template, my favorite action adventure template, whatever. Well, then forevermore, when you go into dashboard, you can create from template, and here at the top will say my templates. These are ones that I created using Plottr's templates, but I changed them up to be my own, and I saved them in just this way. They'll be there forever now. They'll never go back to the original template. The original template will still be in the list, but you'll have access to what you just created. Pretty cool. All right, let's go back to the three little pigs. And we see that we have some character arc cards here. And we're going to go to this next one. So project timeline, now we're going to go to outline. Outline is kind of like the English paper version of all your scene cards. You can read them in order. It's a great way to identify plot holes. Instead of having to go through each scene card, it's just really easy. You can just read it and be like, oh no, that's not good. Or maybe you see a typo, you can change it here. If you change it here, I guarantee you it'll change automatically on timeline as well. Notes allows you to do your research. So if you look on the left-hand side, you can think of it like an old-fashioned filing cabinet. Remember those? All right, so how does this work? You see how at the top it says research I need to do later, pre-writing research, 1904. These are categories, and within those categories, you can think of them as folders. Within the folder is the research. Wolf behavior under stress is something he wants to do later. Yeah? And in 1904, because they're time-traveling pigs, of course, he wants his Eiffel Tower research to go under 1904. Okay, good for him. Let's go click on one of them. Eiffel Tower. He wanted it in 1904, but he could easily change it simply by clicking on this category, and he can move it around. He could put it under type of poison. He could put it under pre-writing research, and all that will happen is the Eiffel Tower will disappear from 1904 and show up under pre-writing research. How does he create these categories in the first place? Well, you guessed it. Right above this plus, the word categories, there they are. He can add it. It's that simple. He added these, and here are all the ones that he wanted to do. And you can delete them just as easily too. For example, maybe I decide not to have poison, so I can X out of it. Also, the other thing you can do is you can go in and you can add an image. You can add any image you want. Now, this is research cards. So he added here the characters that are impacted by the research card, but I don't really find that to be super useful. So I don't really bother with this part, not here and under notes, research notes. The other thing is you might notice that there's source at the bottom. What's source? It's not on yours. So what does that mean? Well, that's an attribute. He wanted to see it for every single scene card. So if we go above notes and attributes, here we see he added source. This means that source is something he added because he's old-fashioned, okay? I know this guy. And he goes to the library all the time and just reads books for his research. Doesn't ever look at a computer. He doesn't even own a computer. Kid you not. So source, he might put Encyclopedia of Traveling Pigs. And he can put that there. And in that way, he can see where his research came from. Now, you and me, we might be a little bit different. So let's look at what you and I might do. Maybe we would look up a URL for an article. Maybe this would be one fact. And maybe the second line is another fact from a different article. We can just simply highlight part of it and go up here to link and simply paste in the URL where the article came from. What'll happen is this will become a live link. And then it's so useful. I just love this feature because anytime I want to revisit that article or there's something in there I forgot or I just want to see it again, all I have to do is come here and click on that link and it takes me right to that article. And this one, a different article. It's a great way to keep track of where your research comes from, especially if you're writing, say, nonfiction, but just to have easy access to the information so you can find it again. Over here, we have books. This is super cool. So this is allowing you to share among your books. So let's say, because research is something often you want to share. Let's say wolf behavior under stress. Well, wolves under stress shows up in all of the books, right? So you go to Books Plus and you can choose from all the books. So he chose Three Little Pigs and Return of Mother Pig. He decided Wolf Strikes Back doesn't have any wolves under stress, so he doesn't need to share that. Characters, again, he added a character to the note card, but I wouldn't bother with that. Okay, that is this. So let's close this out and go to the next one, which is characters. This is where you create the characters for your story. So a character card, again, you can click on the black plus or use new up here. And we can create a new character. Let's just do it, okay? Let's create pig number 6,432. What category do I want it? Well, I think it's going to be a victim. Yeah, it's going to be a victim because pigs, when they're victims, become bacon, and everybody loves bacon. So let's be real here. So let's click on victim. Okay, now look over at victim here. Pig number 6,432 just showed up there. Character thumbnail. What I like to do a lot of times is I simply go to Google and I look up something like I need a pig. It's really, really a chunky pig. It's a pig that's more brown than pink. And I get the perfect pig in Google Images. I can simply add it as a thumbnail. And then every time I'm writing my novel, I can just come to the character card. I leave that tab open and I can see what my character looks like. I don't have to keep track of notes and all that anymore. It's a picture right there for me live. Over here, we have notes. This is where all your research goes, and it looks short, but you can go on forever and ever and ever. All right. And next to his attributes, remember attributes are for every single card in every single area. So in this example, it's for every single character card. So let's go to attributes. Every single card he wanted to ask himself, planet, type of house, etc. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. Okay, configure, maybe you want to do something else. You want to ask yourself something else. If I click on any card, doesn't matter which one, and I click on attributes, there they are. Let's go back to pig number 3. Add template. Why does this one have character bio here? Because it's a template. Templates are different than attributes. Attributes are something you want to ask yourself for every single card. It's important to you. But templates are to get to know the individual, in this situation, character, because we're under the character tab. So let's look at the templates. So all of these are different templates for you to get to know your character. I would do this for the important characters. Maybe you want to know Myers-Briggs. Maybe you want to know what kind of pig number 3 Myers-Briggs is. Or maybe you want to know the goal, motivation, and conflict of that character. Or character arc. Or birth order. I mean, there's so many cool things you can do to get to know your character. There's even online dating profile. How cool is that? You can give your pig number 3 a Tinder profile. It's a great way to get to know your character, and it's fun too. There's even Dungeons and Dragons ones just for fun. No real purpose except to give Dungeons and Dragons fans a little Easter egg there. You see my template at the top? Same deal here. I changed one of these templates up and made it my own, and then I saved it and it created my template. I can choose it. If I choose it, no problem. It will simply put it up here at the top on this line. So now we have two templates, character bio and online dating profile. But I decide I don't want my pig to date. So I'm going to get rid of, I think I'm going to get rid of online dating profile. Yeah, I think so. No, there's something new here that I see. I'm just noticing every single time I log on to Plottr, guys, there's something new because the team is always working to create it and make things better. So I always am like so amazed when I see something brand new. Character. Okay. Ooh, this is so cool. I actually haven't looked at this one yet, the character bio. Look at all the stuff that's on there. So why are templates, let's go back to notes for a second. Why are templates only for individual cards? The reason is because you might want to, maybe this is a romance story. You really want to get to know your character, this particular character, very important in your romance novel. And that's why you want to do the online dating profile. You click it, open, you do it, you fill it out, look at all these cool things. Maybe you decide, I'm not going to bother with this. All you got to do is hit remove template. Delete it, and you see how it just disappeared from this list? The list is great up here because it just tucks it away there. It doesn't bother you, but if you want it, you can click on it. Let's remove template. Easy to do. You can remove or do whatever you want. Again, this is showing that this character, pig number 3, belongs in Three Little Pigs, is also going to appear in The Wolf Strikes Back, and is also going to appear in Return of Mother Pig. But you know what? I decide I don't want pig number 3 in Return of Mother Pig. No problem. I just simply X out of it. Now look, it's only going to show up in these two books. So if I go back to project, Three Little Pigs and The Wolf Strikes Back, those are going to have that card, but it's not going to be in this one. Let's go back to character here. Up here at the top, the last thing I want to tell you about characters are this part at the top. So this allows you to go between your books real fast. The reason we've discovered that was super helpful is because often you think of characters when you're in a character area for a different book, and you can simply go over to Wolf Strikes Back and add it real quick in. So it gives you maximum flexibility to move super fast between your series. Okay, next up is places, and I don't have to explain this because it's exactly the same as the other things. The only thing I wanted to explain, maybe a little bit different, is you see how somebody wrote Google Map links here? Well, this is like if there's a real place, like in a case of the time traveling pigs, they're going to Taj Mahal. Well, maybe I go to Taj Mahal on Google Map links. You've been there, right? You could see up, down, and all around in real live time. I can copy and paste that URL. I can come here, write Google Map links. I can highlight it. I can do link. I can paste in that Google Map link. Then what will happen is this will become a live link. And then when it comes time for me to actually write the same, I can click on this and see the Taj Mahal in real time. It's really useful. Very cool. By the way, there's a search button here. You'll see this in a lot of places. On timeline, see there's search here. Everywhere you go, there's search. So this is like, let's say, for example, that I decide, oh, you know what? I want to add something to that scene I wrote about soup. But I don't remember which scene it is. There's 3,000 scenes here. We'll simply type out soup. And there is none about soup here. How could there not be one? I know why, because I'm not in the Three Little Pigs. That's what the problem is. Okay, so if I click on soup here it is, the midpoint, lands in boiling pot of soup. It's carrot soup. So that helps me find things real easily, and that's in every single area. So next up is tags, and tags are really cool. I didn't use them for 2 years, guys, because I thought they were too complicated. Super simple, super easy to use, and really useful. Oh, and by the way, if you asked a question, don't worry. I'm going to get to them the last few minutes, which we're getting to in just a minute. So here we can do categories, and in this case, theme, pacing, and emotions, he added. And here you see theme, pacing, and emotions. He used this plus over here to add to the themes. These are the 4 themes he wants to track. Pacing, slow, medium, and fast. He wants to track the pacing of his scene cards, and I'll show you how to do it in a second. But why, as an example, why does he want to track slow, medium, and fast? Well, it turns out every single book he writes and he submits to an agent will write back and say, this is a lovely book, but it's a little too quiet for today's market. Now, don't we all love that word, quiet? Well, quiet can potentially mean boring. Maybe he needs to put some more faster paced scenes in there. And he realizes he does like to write slow, thoughtful scenes. He doesn't want to make that mistake this time. So he's going to track slow, medium, and fast. Now let's go back to timeline. How can he track slow, medium, fast? He hasn't even written the book yet. He can just make a guess at the scene card. The pigs build themselves a home. Well, I think that's, maybe it's not a slow one. There's a little bit of adventure, but it's certainly not fast-paced. It's probably medium. So he can go and click on the plus, and here are all the tags he created, and he can call it medium. And there he did, medium. Now, the key to tags is once you create them, every single scene card, just the top row we're talking about, every single scene card, he wants to put the tags in because then he can filter and see what he's got. Okay, let's see what we got here. Let's go to filter. Filter automatically populates with every character you've written, every place, all the tags right there in your attributes. So he can go and say, I want to see how many fast-paced scenes I've got. Everything else grays out in the back, and he can see. Uh-oh, I think he has a problem. It looks like he only has 2 fast-paced scenes. That doesn't sound good. It sounds like he's going back to his bad old quiet ways. We can click on timeline is filtered right here that's yellow to get it back to normal. There we go. We can also filter for more than one thing at a time. I could do fast and medium with the theme of laziness. All right. He did it differently, but you see these 4 cards come up. A lot of times when you're doing filtering, you might filter for, let's say themes. Let's say the theme of safety. Okay, so he's got 2 here, and he's got 1 here, and he's got no other ones. So that might tell him it's not really much of a theme. Or maybe if he wants to have it be a theme, he should put some cards in the middle. He should put some more cards in for the theme. So you see the filter can help you in so many ways. But what I want you to do is just play with it, because the best way for you to understand all this is to play with it. But those tags and that filter is really incredibly important. Next up, I'm going to show you large, medium, and small. So we're in large view right now. If you go to medium, you can see everything. Again, hover over it and you can see what's inside it. Medium is really cool because you can see everything, but for my eyes, I like large. Small is great for revision. So what this is telling me is, if I'm looking at this correctly, I've decided pig number 3 is my main character. I decided that's the one that I just really like and I want to make my main character. But if you look at this, you'll see the yellow dots are under setup beat and under debate beat and under midpoint. But what about all this? I completely forgot about pig number 3. So I know that I'm going to want to put a scene card somewhere around here and somewhere around here and put pig number 3 back in so he can be the main character. Most of the time, though, I think you will be working in large because you're working on scene cards. Mid and right and left just allows you to move around real fast. And we talked about search already, and we're almost to the questions. So next to structure is this little arrow guy. If you click on it, it says MS Word and Scrivener. Those are the writing softwares you're working on. What we're going to do is go to advanced because we don't want all of this to be sent over to our writing software. You don't have to send anything over to your writing software. I never have. But some people want to. Maybe in Scrivener particularly has some cool areas that you can move these cards over and it'll look pretty good. But I would deselect a lot of this because otherwise it'll just clutter up your writing software. Maybe you just want to see the plot line for the wolf. So maybe you unclick everything but the plot line for the wolf. Because today you're going to write about the wolf and you want to see his plot line. And again, this is, see how that's highlighted MS Word, but you can go over to Scrivener if that's what you work on. And when you click this orange area, it will say, what's the name of your project? And you'll tell it, and this card will go over there. It's pretty useful for that. But I don't use it. Why don't I use it very often? I know some people love it, but I think I've heard some people tend to use it like more for backup. Like they think, well, it'll be important, I'll have a backup. But you don't have to do that. This is what Plottr does for you. Every single time when you log on for the day, Plottr backs up. Every single time when you log off for the day, Plottr backs up. It's really great. If you lose something in the middle of the day, it's not going to be a big deal. You're going to only lose something from an hour or so ago, and you can go back and put up your older backups, and your sync card will come right back. Now, if you just deleted it, simply hit undo and it'll come back, right? But if you did something like an hour ago and you're like, oh no, I deleted that and now I want it back, you can get it from your backup. So I want you to know that that's always an option. All right. Last thing I want to show you is if you click on three little pigs here on the left side, at the top, you see series view. Let's go there. This is kind of like a place to have a series Bible if you choose to. And what this is telling me is that he's written out the beats. He's created one level and he's written out the beats. And those beats are not for individual stories, but for the overarching, all the series together. Because of course, beats are each individual book, but you also have them for the overarching series. What this is telling me from looking at this is the three little pigs will show up in the setup and catalyst beat. And then he's going to come out with the second book, Return of Mother Pig, for the debate and break into 2 beat. Then the Wolf Strikes Back is going to come in for beat number 5 and beat number 6, which he didn't name. It looks like he put a template here. He could add the timelines for each of his books here if he wanted to. All right, always before I leave, though, I go back here and I get out of series view and I go down to back to the three little pigs. And the reason I do that is because I like to see this when I pull up the story next time instead of the series view. Because one time I pulled up the series view and I freaked out because I didn't see my usual scene cards there. And I had a moment of freak out before I figured it out. So I just try to do that and make it easy. Okay, that's it for this part. So I'm going to stop sharing this. Okay, so here's some advice for you. I suggest that you sign up for the newsletter. The reason is because, like I told you, the team is always working to create cool new things. We just did Family Tree. I don't know if you're aware of that. Family Tree is really useful for certain types of books, including my own. I have a very complicated family tree in the book I'm working on and a disease that travels through certain family members. I can track all that in Family Tree. So these are features that are constantly being added, and you're not going to know necessarily about them unless you get the newsletter saying, hey, watch this video to learn how to do Family Tree. Also, some other cool things like classes we might offer are on there, or interviews, or things like that. Here's an example of one from last, I think it's almost a year old now, but we had an in-depth exploration of something we were offering at the time. We had a pay-as-you-can 4-day story garden summit that we put in there, and it filled up like right away. So this is all something that you might really, really enjoy having access to. Okay, now I'm going to take your questions. And while I'm going to ask you to put up all your questions if you have any. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to tell you 2 more things. What is the difference between Plottr and Plottr Pro? Plottr is basically, you can think of it as it's on your hard drive. It only allows one person to work on the project. That's you. You can't work with someone else on it, only that. And when you hit back, when it backs up for you, rather, it backs it up automatically to your hard drive. Plottr Pro does similar features, but it backs up to Plottr's cloud. So you always have your backups on the cloud and you can access them at any time. But even more importantly is you can collaborate. So I teach classes and sometimes we do things on Plottr. So I can simply collaborate with my students who have Plottr Pro, and many of them do, and I just share things with them back and forth. So that's an example of why you might want the different products. Oh, you're so welcome, Leon. Okay, so let's see here. Yeah, it looks like rain in Kentucky. I hear you. Looks like rain here too in Barcelona. I use the attributes for characters for some of the main characters. It seems to help keep track of their specific details. Attributes are super useful. They're really, really great. And, you know, one of the templates is called Goal, Motivation, and Conflict for the scene cards. And I discovered, for example, that it's a template. So templates are only for the individual scene cards. And every single scene card, I was going in and adding a template, goal, motivation, and conflict. Because I want to know the goal, motivation, and conflict of every single scene card. I happen to think it's super important. And the workaround was to actually go in. You'll like this, Stan. And I made an attribute and I added goal, motivation, and conflict. And since attributes are for every single card, I no longer had to add the template. I just did a little cheat and created attributes. So that is really fun too. Can you duplicate and then change character cards between books? Can you duplicate characters? Duplicate characters? You don't have to duplicate characters and then change character cards between books. Okay, so if I'm understanding you correctly, you don't have to duplicate characters. You can simply share them with other books. So let's go back into this one. I'll show you what I mean. All right, let's go to the character area. Here's pig number 3 ready. Yeah. So let me just read your question again, make sure I've got it right. Yeah, you don't have to duplicate anything because you see this book area here. This is telling you that you've added this particular pig number 3 to the book called Three Little Pigs, which we're working on now, and The Wolf Strikes Back. Let's click on the plus. We decided not to add pig number 3 to return a mother pig. So the Three Little Pigs and The Wolf Strikes Back, if we go over there, let's go back to project. Let's go to The Wolf Strikes Back. Let's go to the character area. And there you see, Three Little Pigs is there. It's so useful because you know how it is when you start a new book and you don't have your ideas, you're kind of facing this big emptiness of nothing. Well, now it'll be completely filled up with things you've already shared of like research cards or characters or whatever you want to do, you can share between the books. I hope that's clear. Let's see here. Let me go back. Okay, good. Yeah, you got to practice. The best way to practice is, like I said, I'm not sure all of you heard, but you're going to get a YouTube live link at the end of this and go back and take your time, write notes and play around. Download one of the demos from Plottr because then you can play around with this already done project, not your own project. Will you ever be bringing Plottr back to an iOS platform? I think they took that away because I don't think it was working very well. I don't know what the current feedback is on that, but you can always write them and ask. So I'm going to tell you how to do that. So there's a couple ways to get questions answered, by the way. Let's say you're working and it's 2 in the night, middle of the morning, 2 a.m. You're on a roll. You can go to the Facebook Plottr page, and it's people all over the world working. So you can ask any question you want there about how to do something, and somebody inevitably will know and will tell you. That's a great way to get an answer. Another thing you might do is go to YouTube and type in your question. How do I customize templates? LB Schulman told me, but I completely forgot. Okay, no problem. Don't put all that into YouTube. And it'll pull up like, videos from our members and we even had a class about it, and it'll pull it all up and you can see it right then and there. But the third thing you can do is you can always call up customer service because guess what? They're real live people. That's right. They're not AI, real live people. And you can ask them anything and they are so useful and helpful. So Leon, I don't know the answer to that, but you can write Holly at customer service, for example, and say, hey, Holly, are you guys going to bring it back to iOS platform? And she can tell you exactly what the current thought process is on it. Sometimes we're experimenting around trying things. And so I don't know the latest and greatest, but Holly will. Now, here's the other thing. One time I uploaded a new version for my MacBook. And when I went to open up my Plottr, it only loaded halfway and then stopped. I was convinced, as are, most of us paranoid people, right away that I had a virus, that it was corrupt, that I was never going to see my SIM cards again, blah, 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 blah. Not to mention there was backups, but I didn't, I was freaking out. And I wrote customer service and said, help, my everything, nothing's working. And the customer service people said, don't worry, we'll get back to you. It might take a few hours because we're researching. They had no idea, right? But I said, I just uploaded the new iOS for my MacBook. And it turned out that by doing that, it had taken out one of the settings deep into the bowels of my laptop. It had changed something. And I had no idea. And they didn't either. But they played around and they figured it out. And she wrote me back and said, look, LB, go into this. Now click this. And I did. And my Plottr worked beautifully. So they're geniuses over there. I'm absolutely convinced. Okay. But the character changes, motivations, shadows, etc. That's going back to, can you duplicate? Can you duplicate and then change character cards between books? Oh, character changes. You mean like yes, you can duplicate the character arc plot lines I showed you, those extra ones on the timeline. Yeah, just the same way. They all have the same icons that fall beneath them. And there's a duplicate. You make a double. And then you simply go all the way to the end to the little black book that says move plot line. And you can move it to any other book. So you can totally move those as well. Everything is movable. All right. I think that's it for now, looks like. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. The best thing I can say to you is don't wait. Don't wait too long. Go dive right into the link that comes back and play around, because that's the best way to do it. Just dive right in, because Plottr is amazing. It's going to change your life. Sometimes things seem a little overwhelming when you're first learning them, but I'm telling you, if listen, I learned it really quickly, you can too. And it has changed my life. And it makes all of my first drafts so much better. And not only that, but I reverse engineered one of my books that wasn't selling, and I didn't know why. And I reverse engineered it, and I created the beats, and I put scenes back into Plottr, and I discovered I was missing a beat. And that beat was pretty darn important. I don't know. It was like plot point 1 or something. I don't know. Something big was missing. And it allowed me to go in and fix it and figure out. And also it showed me I had extra scenes that I didn't need. And so there was a lot of information I got from reverse engineering it too. So there's a million ways I could never cover in 100 years that you can use Plottr, and all you got to just kind of dive in and start doing it to see how it will benefit you. All right, with that, please go write, and I wish you the best of luck with Plottr and with your book. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope to see you guys again sometime soon. We'll have to finish our cowboy novel another time, but we'll get around to it. All right. Take care and see you later. Bye-bye.